Hello. It's Bright Side, live at noon. Got my rubber bands here. Gives me a way to feel a little more containment, a little more awareness of where I am, what I'm doing. Piece of this is broken. It's probably not broken. Can probably be repaired. We've talked about orienting. Reorienting came up as a vocabulary word this week. So we've talked about reorienting, which is as simple as feeling in your body which way's up, which way's down, moving that center of gravity around so that you can tell where the center is. And, pardon me, the space inside of your body where your breath moves, there's lung tissue, there's rib cage, there's spine, there's sternum, there's collarbones, there's shoulder joints. Your lungs come up to like here. Like your diaphragm is here and has to move down into the body to receive a breath. So feel it fill in all directions. Shrink down again. Fill in. Relax. Release. Soften. Get small. Get empty. And then receive that next breath in like a sponge soaks in water. And keep doing that. Breathing in, receiving, breathing out, releasing, sinking, getting heavier, feeling gravity. I know which way is down. I know which way is up. And those become sensations that my nervous system can interpret on the fly that help me feel oriented into my space. The room around me is very familiar. So I can look around and I can confirm where I am, and I can follow with my eyes and my head the seams in the wall, the details. I have wooden ceiling beams, so I can see the wood grain and I can look. And I can engage my postural reflexes, and I can engage my visual ocular reflexes, and I can put myself in the center of a space, which feels calming. It feels like safety. It feels like a stable container for my body, for my nervous system, for my unconscious landscape. And our physical bodies are the outward expression of our unconscious, of all of the things that we hold all of the things that we accumulate within us, everything from literal genetic material that we have accumulated and brought with us from our lineage, and the stories, the experiences, the memories that accumulate in our body throughout our life. And those things condense into something tangible, into bones, into fascia, into blood and lymph and all kinds of fluids flowing around in there. And that's just another form of energy moving in the body. The heat, the literal physical inertia that comes with a big wave. If you've been at the ocean and been knocked over by a wave coming in, you know how powerful that water can be. If you live here in my area and remember the Hurricane Helene floods that happened not very long ago, you know the power that water can carry, that flow can carry, because it will knock you over. It will knock me over. It will knock over whatever it needs to knock over in order to do what it does. And so when we conceptualize energies moving in the body this way, one of the conversations that I had this week looked at this like a dam and a spillway. We have a lot of those kind of structures in our local landscape in the area. And this idea that there's a reservoir, there's an accumulation of something, of energy, and there's a structure here to give it containment. And intermittently, because it is beneficial to do so, we open the gates on that dam, we allow some of the water to flow through in a controlled way so that we can mobilize some of that, so that we don't overflow, so that we don't deplete the system going forward. And that's what we can think of as titration, is this idea of a little bit, sometimes, balance it, and then we'll keep doing that, and we'll keep doing that, and we'll keep doing that, and we will recalibrate the balance as needed. And that just becomes a natural function in the, why is my nose so itchy? Why is my nose so itchy? What are you saying to me, nose? The nose knows. This is a planarian. We looked at planarians in petri dishes under microscopes when I was in like junior high or something. And apparently it was a core memory for me because I really like planarians. I think they're cute. And they swim around and they look for little bits of nourishment in the water in which they swim. Bits of algae, bits of decaying plant and animal matter, like whatever it is that planarians eat, right? If it's sort of a general organic speck, they'll bring it in, digest it, and then send it out behind them in their wake. You know, the glare makes it so a little hard to see the board. And so the only thing that planarian is making decisions based off of is, where's the flavor? Following breadcrumbs. And so it swims and it eats and it tastes. That's about all it does. Our human decision-making system is a lot more complex than that. But that's still part of it. That very basic primordial function of appetite, of flavor, of satisfaction, of pleasure, that primordial function of seeking nourishing pleasure, it's still in there too. Because we bring things with us from our lineage. And so we still contain every previous version of ourselves. The body chooses what to express, but the amount of genetic material in any one genome, in any one person's DNA, the amount of genetic material that nothing happens with, that we literally refer to it as junk DNA, because it's not doing anything. It's vestigial, perhaps, but it is in there. And so when we find connection and relationship with these primordial functions, it can be really reorienting. It can be like, oh, that's how this is supposed to work. These primordial movements, the yes, the no, the side to side, the breath in, the breath out, orienting the vertical axis in space. Those primordial movements, pushing, pulling, reaching, really reaching. Our primordial senses of safe or not safe, delicious or not delicious, those are valuable assets in the way that I think about these things and the way that I present these things. Because it establishes a foundation that we can all trust into in a really human way. And then we can ask questions about it, and then we can explore it, and we can get more specific about it, and we can really start to hammer out our own personal maps. But we have to be able to come back to the ground, literally. We have to be able to feel the ground under our feet. We have to know where our feet are or where our connection with gravity is. We have to be able to feel that easily in a way that doesn't take extra energy out of the system, in a way that is just organic and synergistic and automatic. The more we can move into that type of functioning, where the body is not distracted by its own experience, but that we can utilize the bodily experience as information, as data, that we can receive it like a breath, digest it, and immediately, or close to immediately, let go of whatever parts of that wave we're done with. The wave comes through. The wave is valuable. All experiences are valuable because they are informative. And that doesn't diminish the level of discomfort and intensity that may or may not have accompanied some of those experiences. But all experiences are valuable when we can receive them as information about ourselves, information about our heart, and information about this human experience that we are all having a version of. And I had questions this week about death. That was the question of the week, and it was posed very broadly. It was posed just like, I want to talk about death. And I'm like, me too. So At the upcoming colloquium event, which I do not know the date for off the top of my head, we're going to talk about death, and it's going to be fun. Drinking the cold water, switch it out for hot coffee, just to shake things up a little bit. So we'll talk about death, and that was why that was relevant right now. Because another one of the vocabulary words that came through this week is catharsis, which describes the bodily relief feeling. I didn't die. That feeling of survival, which we said last week, like we can do better. We can do better than just surviving. But we have to survive first. We have to survive in our body first. And we benefit from a felt knowing, a confidence of like, I'm alive, I'm safe, I've survived everything that has ever happened to me, and here I am, standing in my strength in my center, with my feet on the floor, and my body ready to go, and my mind soft and clear. We have to survive first. And so when we have those moments of like relief washes over us like a wave, that's catharsis. But why do we have this fear? For some it's fear. Yeah. For some, it's not a fear of death. It's a fear of pain or suffering. And for some, it's a fear of death. Wonder why. I wonder why. I wonder what's so terrible about it. But there's so much of our unconscious that is obsessed with reporting to us, are we dead? Are we not dead? Might we be dead soon? Or might we be suffering soon? But again, this idea of sort of ancestral conservation and our little planarian guy and boiling this all the way down, I think that there's something really basic in our biology that is afraid of dying, that wants to avoid dying, shall we say, wants to avoid dying. And we can tell all kinds of stories about why. And maybe that's what we'll do at our next colloquium, and we'll just figure that out. I don't know. But we have physiology that is dedicated to keeping us alive as long as possible, as well fed as possible, and as mammals, as well rested as possible. We like to rest. We like to be comfortable. We like to just bask in this experience. I do. I do. And when my daughter was little and I would hold her right here, and she did not want to lay in the bed, and we would just do this And it was all right. It was all right. It was a very slow time in my life because it happened at body pace. And when small children and infants are in physical proximity with another human, there's a co-regulation that happens that is unconscious, that is automatic. That's why we put newborn babies on skin, because it is medicinal for them to feel that human connection. And there's a co-regulation there that happens. If you have babies in your life, if you have small kiddos, particularly anyone who is not fully verbal, because anyone who is not fully verbal is going to be existing a lot more as an embodied person. Their body's going to hold on to more. And we see that in the research, that things that happen between the ages of 0 and 4, they stick around. They get in there. And they get in here. But that's not to say that evolution and development, learning, ever stop. We're just recognizing that there are bodily elements to this, and some of them might be older, deeper than others, and that's fair. I've been standing here for long enough that the tops of my feet asked for a stretch. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm shifting my weight and I'm taking my toes and I'm curling them just to gently stretch the front of my ankle. Maybe doing a little bit of that, but I'm not pushing down. I'm just moving my foot through the shape. That feels nice. I don't think I've seen anyone pop in yet. But I feel like it's been a good conversation for me. Thank you. Somebody was asking this week about Mercury in retrograde. I have an astrology. It's a calendar, but it's a tapestry. It's pretty and colorful over on my wall here. And it shows the phases of the moon. It shows the movements of the planets. It shows the zodiacal clock and things that I find interesting and pleasing to look at and think about and reflect on. I think that frameworks are useful as mirrors to just ponder some things. Let's think about this. Let's think about how this applies. Does it apply? And it's fun for my brain. But so I had a person this week who was concerned because they had heard that Mercury's in retrograde or is about to be in retrograde or that sort of thing. Which, as I understand it, happens a few times a year. Because Mercury is all the way on the inside of the solar system, and it's very small and it's very fast around the sun. And so our orbit, Earth's orbit, in relation to Mercury's orbit, there's a big timing change there. And Mercury's whole year is a lot shorter than Earth's whole year. And so what happens periodically throughout the year, because of the way that these two things are moving in relation to the sun, is that the planet Mercury appears to pause or move backwards, visually speaking, in the sky. And that's the retrograde. And everything retrogrades every now and then. It's a description of the visual that we can appreciate. And Mercury in retrograde tends to be something that there's often a lot of buzz about. And so if the idea of Mercury in retrograde has been causing you undue stress, what I would encourage is that you let yourself off the hook for that. Because Mercury is always moving around the sun. And the Earth is always moving around the sun. And if astrology sounds like fun to you, it's a very deep, complicated system. And I would recommend seeking the help of someone who has made it their business to know how this works. And don't worry too much about anything else if you're not doing that. Don't let stuff just stress you out. Don't hold on to those. Don't hold on to those. They don't taste good. Our planarian friends would not just hold on to things without a reason why. So if you're going to hold on to something, whatever it is, what's your reason why? Identify that. Come into alignment with that. And then trust yourself, and I will support you. Trust your gut. If your gut says, watch out for Mercury, okay, I will help you. But these things in our environments that find their way in through the algorithm or whatever, don't think too hard about any of it. Taste it. See what tastes good. See what feels nourishing. See what proves itself to be useful. And then allow the other stuff to move on through. It's okay that it came in. It's fine. But allow it to move on through. Otherwise, it's just taking up space and it's not giving you anything for that. It's not paying rent. Everybody's got to pay rent. All right. Was there any more? Is there more to say today? Somatic journeying and the colloquium groups will resume in August, and I don't know what the schedule is going to look like after August. Everything is always evolving. Including me, including you, including the way that our nervous systems and our somas are able to digest our experiences. Recalibrate. Recalibrate as needed. Get back into your center. Get back into the quiet. Get back into gravity. Get back into your breath and body pace. And if you don't quite know how to do that by yourself, then get help. There is help available. And that's about 30 minutes. We have a new moon, I think tomorrow. New moons are dark moons. It's the night that we actually don't see the moon in the sky because we see its shadow, or the shadow of the earth on the moon. I think if you know where to look for it, you can still visualize it. If it's a really clear night, maybe. I don't think I've ever tried. I feel like I've heard that. Anyway, the dark moon, the shadow moons, all about the inner self, all about our inner fluidic, emotional, intuitive self. And it's about intentions. So if you like the moon, like I do, it's the logo of my business, so if you like the moon, then think about what kind of intentions do you want to hold space for inside of your inner space, the dark space in the body, in the breath, in the heart. What are we planting this month? Might be fun. It's supposed to be fun. I'll talk to you all next time. Talk to me anytime. See you then.